Endocrine system at a glance. So the endocrine glands will secrete the hormones, and we have the exocrine glands also. We already have seen. So the exocrine gland will secrete hormones, enzymes, and some of the substances. Like for example, we have the sweat glands, salivary glands, and sebaceous glands. These things will secrete other than hormones. Salivary glands will secrete saliva. Sebaceous glands will secrete sebum, and sweat glands will secrete sweat. And also we have the digestive glands, which are again exocrine gland, which secrete the digestive enzymes. The only endocrine glands will secrete the hormones, and hormones regulates the body activities, as we already know. So it regulates the metabolic activity. The very best example for the metabolic rate is decided by thyroid hormone, which is being produced by thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is controlled by pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland in turn is controlled by hypothalamus. So it is a sequential feedback system. Like, so the metabolic system, the metabolic rate is controlled by thyroid hormones, and the thyroid gland is controlled by pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland in turn is controlled by hypothalamus. Okay, so how the thing will happen is the hypothalamus will release a hormone called thyrotropin releasing hormone. That thyrotropin releasing hormone will act on pituitary gland, where the pituitary gland will release a hormone called thyroid stimulating hormone, which otherwise called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. And the thyroid stimulating hormone will act on the thyroid gland for the production of more amount of thyroid hormone or less amount of thyroid hormone, nothing but T3 and T4. And next, and also for the water and mineral balance. So the water and mineral balance is mainly maintained by glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. So these are in turn produced by adrenal cortex. And next, immune system reactions. So this is controlled by thymus. So thymus is the gland which is located in the anterior portion of the kidney. Anterior portion of the heart, where the immune system is being controlled there, because the thymus organ, wherever the lymphocytes goes to the thymus gland, and in the thymus the lymphocytes will get matured, so that we call it as T lymphocytes. The T lymphocytes are responsible for the cell mediated immunity. And next, sexual functioning. So nothing but gonads. So the ovaries in females and the testes in males. So these are the two things will control the sexual functioning by production of we also have the primary sexual characters and secondary sexual characters. So the gonads will produce the ova and eggs, ova and sperms, and also it produces the hormones called estrogen, progesterone by ovaries, and testosterone by testes, which maintains the secondary sexual characters. And coming to the next, so let's see again the organs of the endocrine system. The organs of the endocrine system are adrenal glands. Adrenal glands are located just on the top of the kidney, and the adrenal gland will have two parts. One is adrenal cortex, other one is adrenal medulla. Whatever the thing, very outer layer we call it as cortex, and the inner we call it as medulla. And the cortex will produce the hormones called glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. Medulla will produce the hormones called epinephrine and norepinephrine, which we also said to be catecholamines. And next, ovaries. Ovaries will produce the hormones. Many hormones will be produced by the ovaries, but the majorly two hormones are very, very important, that is estrogen and progesterone. And pancreas, the islets of Langerhans. These are the group of the cells which produces the endocrine part of the pancreas, which produces the glucagon, insulin, and somatostatin. And parathyroid gland. The parathyroid gland will produce a hormone called parathormone. And next, pineal gland. Pineal gland is a small pine shaped gland which produces the hormone called melatonin. which controls the circadian rhythm. Nothing but diurnal as well as nocturnal, both. And coming to the next gland, pituitary gland. Pituitary gland will produce a hormone called, produces many hormones which controls the remaining glands. So that is the, because of that pituitary gland is called as master gland. So, and the pituitaries are in turn divided into anterior pituitary. The other name for anterior pituitary is adenohypophysis, and we have the posterior pituitary, which we call it as neurohypophysis. And adenohypophysis will produce some of the hormones like thyroid stimulating hormone, adenocorticotropic hormone, and we have the growth hormone, and we have the next luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. All these things will be there from anterior pituitary gland. And the posterior pituitary will produce the two hormones, that is nothing but one is oxytocin, other one is antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin. And next, testis. Testis will produce the major hormone called, so the interstitial cells in the testis will produce the hormone called testosterone, which is very very important for maintaining secondary sexual characters in females. And thymus gland, which is for maturation of the lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, so which is majorly for cell mediated immunity. And next, thyroid gland. Thyroid gland will produce the hormones called T3 and T4, and also calcitonin. It also produces another hormone called calcitonin by the parafollicular cells, and the T3 and T4 is based on the number of iodine molecules, and calcitonin will decrease the amount of the blood calcium. And these are the glands once again. So here we have the pineal gland, pituitary gland in the brain, and next we have the thyroid, which is butterfly shaped, and this we have the two lobes, right lobe and left lobe, and the center part we call it as isthmus. And this is the thymus gland, which is located just front to the heart. And we have the ovaries, testis, pancreas, and adrenal gland, so which are present on the top of the kidney. And coming to the next, let's see the combining forms of the endocrine system. So acro means extremities. So we have a word called acromegaly, so enlargement of the extremities. And next, adreno means adrenal glands. So adrenal, which is adding to the kidneys, and adrenalo means also adrenal gland. Andro means male. Calco means calcium. Crane or crano means secrete. So endocrine, crine means secrete. Estro, which means female. So estrogens, so the hormones produced by females. And coming to the next, extremities. Okay, acro means extremities. So like the fingertips and the toe tips are the extremities of the body. Extreme means the peak. What are the peaks of our body means we have the hands and the legs, the fingers. Okay, so enlargement of these extremities. For some people, if you notice, they will have a very bigger hands or the larger feet. So because due to overproduction of the growth hormone after the fusion of epiphysis of the bone. So once the bone growth got stopped, but even though they are producing more amount of growth hormone, it may lead to the enlargement of their extremities. That is said to be acromegaly. Got it? Okay. Shall I move to the next slide? Okay. So next combining forms is glyco. Glyco means sugar. So glycogen, which related to the sugar. So a polysaccharide, so with the combining of glucose we call it as glycogen. And glycoso means also sugar. Gonado means sexual glands, and homeo means same. So whenever you have a word, homeo means same, and cal means potassium. hyperkalemia means higher potassium level, hypokalemia means lower potassium level, natro means sodium. So hyponatremia means lower amount of sodium level, hypernatremia means increased levels of sodium level. And you can easily remind this, like the chemical formula for potassium is Ka. For K is the chemical formula for potassium, and Na is the chemical formula for the sodium. So likewise you can remind. And ophthalmo means eye. So ophthalmology means study of eye. Coming to the next, pancreato means pancreas, and parathyroid means parathyroid glands. So parathyroid glands will produce a hormone called parathormone, which will increases the blood calcium level. And opposite to this hormone is calcitonin, which is in turn produced by the parafollicular cells of the thyroid gland, that will decreases the blood calcium. And pineal gland. Pineal means pineal gland, which produces the hormone called melatonin. And we have the pituitary. Pituitaro means pituitary gland. Thymo means thymus. Thyro means thyroid gland. Thyroido means also thyroid gland. And toxico means poison. And let's see the other suffixes. So crine means secrete, to secrete. That's why endocrine, to secrete inside directly into the blood. Exocrine, secretion outside the blood. So endocrine glands are also called as ductless glands, and exocrine glands we call it as duct glands. And next, dyspepsia, thirst. So if there is a condition called diabetes insipidus, so where they will have a frequent and continuous urination, at the same time they have a condition called polydipsia, means frequent and continuous thirst. So they will have a frequent urge to take water. And prandial means related to meal, we all know. Postprandial after the meal, preprandial before the meal, and prandial at the time of the meal. And tropin means to stimulate. So like thyrotropin. Thyrotropin means so it will stimulate the thyroid gland to release the hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone. So tropin means related to stimulating. And coming to anatomy and physiology, so collection of the glands. So endocrinology will comes about collection of the glands, which secretes the hormones directly into the bloodstream, and that acts on the target organ. So the target organs will be very far, so it won't act at the site of the organ. For example, thyroid hormone will act somewhere. Likewise, whatever the hormones that is produced in the hypothalamus, that will act on the pituitary. So for the thyroid hormones, the target organ is pituitary. For the pituitary hormones, the target organs are various glands. And increase or decrease the target level activity. It only will accelerate or decelerate the activity, but the hormones will never initiate the activity. So that's why we call it as molecular triggers. And instrumental in maintaining the homeostasis. So, and all, homeo means same, to maintain the same levels of the body. For example, we have the vitals like body temperature and like heart rate, blood pressure. All these things will be maintained in a static position because of static level, because of homeostasis. Means all together each and every body system has to work coordinatedly, then only the homeostasis is possible. Whatever the system that will work for the single word called homeostasis, and maintain stable internal environment. And coming to the next, types of the glands. There are majorly two types of the glands, that is exocrine and endocrine. We already know this. Release the secretions into the duct that carries them to outside of the body, or it's simply outside the blood. Example, sweat glands. And endocrine glands releases the hormones directly into the bloodstream. So this is not outside the body, that is outside the blood. Okay. So releases the hormones directly into the bloodstream and have no ducts, referred to as ductless glands. Example is thyroid gland. Coming to the next one, glands of endocrine system. Let's see how many number of glands are there. When it comes to, will come from the top to bottom. In the brain we have only one pineal gland and one hypothalamus, one pituitary gland, and when it comes to the thyroid we have only one thyroid gland, and parathyroid, four parathyroid glands are there, and pancreas is also one. Adrenal gland is two because we have the two kidneys. On the top of the two kidneys we have two adrenal glands, and ovaries are two, testes are two, thymus gland is one. And let's see about the first gland, that is adrenal gland. So the two glands, one located above each kidney. Each gland is composed of two sections. So one is adrenal cortex, which is located outside, and other one is adrenal medulla, which is located inside. So this portion is said to be adrenal cortex, and this blue colored portion is adrenal medulla. And in this picture, one thing I want to add a point, like you can notice that right kidney is a bit lower than the left kidney, because the right kidney is pushed down because of the liver. Liver is present on the right side. Because of that only the right kidney was a bit lower. And this is the inferior vena cava, and this is abdominal aorta, which is in turn a continuation of descending aorta. And coming to the adrenal cortex, hormones are referred to as corticosteroids, because we have two types of hormones. One is amino acid, so amino acid derivatives, and the other one is steroid derivatives. So when it comes to amino acid derivatives, that acts just outside the cell. When it comes to steroid, that will go directly into the cell and that will act on the nucleus. So that's why steroids are a bit dangerous than the amino acids. And the hormones are referred to as corticosteroids, which are secreted by adrenal cortex, and the steroid hormones. So there are three types of hormones. One is mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, and sex steroid hormones. And next, so the example for the mineralocorticoids is aldosterone, which regulates the sodium and potassium level. And because of this decreased level or increased level leads to hyponatremia or hypernatremia, or hypokalemia or hyperkalemia. And next, glucocorticoids, which is very essential during emergency situations, and example for this is cortisol, which regulates the carbohydrates. So we need more amount of glucose in a condition of sympathetic nervous system activity. And we have the steroid sex hormones, androgens, estrogen and progesterone, which regulates the secondary sexual characters. Next, adrenal medulla, the inner portion, which secretes the epinephrine or norepinephrine. Epinephrine is also called adrenaline, and norepinephrine is also called noradrenaline. Both are same. Epinephrine or adrenaline, and norepinephrine or noradrenaline. So critical during emergency situation, which increases the blood pressure, increases the heart rate, increases the respiration rate. All the things will get excited except the one, that is digestive system. Always remind, when we are in a very excited emergency situations, we never feel hunger, because the digestive system will get depressed. At that time we need energy. That energy is being supported by the production of cortisol. So during that situation the cortisol will get released into the blood, and that cortisol will stimulate release of more amount of glucose into the blood for energy source during emergency situations. And next, ovaries. Two ovaries are located in the pelvic region of female, which secretes the female sex hormones estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen are responsible for female sexual characters, regulation of menstrual cycle, and progesterone, which maintains suitable for uterine environment and that too for pregnancy. So progesterone means, so the hormone which is released just before pregnancy. So this is the reason. So whenever there is a pregnancy, the progesterone levels will be increased. So gestation means pregnancy. So that's why this hormone we call it as progesterone. And here we have a picture of the ovary. So this is the ovary, and we have the fimbriae, and from the ovary the ova will get released, and this released ova will go into the fallopian tube, and here the ova will wait. Egg will wait for 24 hours for the sperm. Here only the fertilization will take place. So where the fertilization will take place means that is in the fallopian tube. Next it is pancreas. So pancreas, which is located in the lower curvature of the stomach, and only organ that has both endocrine as well as the exocrine functions. So exocrine, that is for release of gastric juices, and endocrine is for insulin, glucagon and stomatostatin. So exocrine part and endocrine part. Endocrine part is released by islets of Langerhans. So if you see in this picture, you can see the cells are like islands, separate islands. So that's why they named it as islets of Langerhans. So Langerhans is the scientist name, and the islets means island. So which produces the insulin as well as the glucagon. So insulin is produced by beta cells, and glucagon is produced by alpha cells. Insulin will decreases the blood glucose, and so occurs after eating the meal and absorbing the carbohydrates. The very opposite will be glucagon. Glucagon will increases the blood glucose. So if both together are functioning, that will maintain the blood glucose in a same level. So that means maintaining homeostasis. So this both will work for maintaining homeostasis. So how the blood glucose will get increased is whatever we eat. So the glucose will be stored in a form of glycogen in the liver. So that this glucagon will stimulate the liver to release the glucose from the glycogen into the bloodstream. And this is again the picture of pancreas. So alpha cells will release glucagon and beta cells will release insulin. So glucagon will raises the blood glucose and insulin will lowers the blood glucose. Parathyroid. Parathyroid are 4 tiny glands that will located on the dorsal surface of the thyroid gland. So on the back of the thyroid gland we have the 4 dots. So this dots we call it as parathyroid glands. And the parathyroid gland will secretes the hormone called parath hormone, which will regulate the calcium level in the bloodstream. If the calcium level in the blood falls too low, the parathyroid hormone levels in the blood will get increases and stimulates the bone to release more amount of calcium into the bloodstream. And this is the picture. So you can see above, this is the trachea, and above the trachea we have this thyroid cartilage. We call this cartilage as Adam's apple also in male, and this is the thyroid gland. Backside to this thyroid gland we have the 4 parathyroid glands, and this is the arch of aorta. So in some questions, in some interviews they'll give a question paper and they'll give a picture and they'll ask you to label that. So to know the picture is also very important. And next, pineal gland. So pineal gland is a small pine cone shaped gland which is a part of thalamus region of brain. So here we have the pineal gland. So which secretes the melatonin for maintaining the circadian rhythms. Nothing but 24-hour clock that governs the period of wakefulness and as well as sleepiness. Next, pineal gland is a part of thalamus region of the brain. So this is the pineal gland. So this is a part of thalamus. Next, pituitary gland, which is a small marble shaped gland. So this is the pituitary, located underneath the brain, divided into anterior lobes and posterior lobes. So this pituitary is being controlled by hypothalamus. And anterior pituitary, which is also referred to as master gland, which secretes the hormones and regulates other endocrine glands. So the hormones are thyroid stimulating hormone, which regulates the function of thyroid gland. Means nothing but in the name itself is there, it stimulates the thyroid gland to release or to decrease the hormone production. Adrenocorticotropin hormone, when there is a tropin means it stimulates the gland, so regulates the function of adrenal cortex. And next, gonadotropins are follicle stimulating hormone, so that is for the ovulation and for the production of spermatogenesis. And luteinizing hormone, that is for the production of estrogen, progesterone or testosterone. And follicle stimulating hormone responsible for the development of ova and sperm, so same as this. And next, growth hormone. Growth hormone is also called somatotropin. So we have one more hormones like similar to this, that is somatostatin, that is produced by delta cells of the pancreas. And which so this growth hormone regulates the growth and divide. Prolactin, which stimulates the milk production in the breast. And melanocyte stimulating hormone stimulates the melanocyte to produce more amount of melanin. Okay, so that decides the skin color and as well as the eye color. So this is the picture to show what and all is controlled by anterior pituitary. It controls the thyroid, it controls the adrenal cortex, it controls the breast, it controls the ovary, testes as well as the bones. And next, posterior pituitary, which produces the only two hormones, that is antidiuretic hormone, which also called vasopressin, and promotes the water reabsorption by the kidney tubules. So this vasopressin is to increase the blood pressure. Whenever there is a fall in the blood pressure will get increased by contracting. So nothing but by decreasing the diameter of the blood vessels and also by stimulating the kidneys to reabsorb more amount of water to decrease the blood volume. And oxytocin, which stimulates, which is also called which stimulates the uterus and promote the uterine contractions during the labor and delivery. So which we also call it as labor hormone, oxytocin. After birth, it stimulates the release of milk from the breast. And testis, two oval glands located in the scrotum, which secretes the male sex hormone called testosterone, that is for the production of male sexual characters and also regulates the sperm production. So this is the testis, and this we call it as scrotum, and this is epididymis. So these are seminiferous tubules which produces the sperms. These are interstitial cells which produces the testosterone. And next, thymus gland, so which is located in the mediastinum, where place same the heart is also located in the mediastinum, which is a part of immune system and also acts as an endocrine gland which secretes the hormone called thymosin. Okay, and next, so essential for the growth and development of thymic lymphocytes, nothing but T cells, critical part of the body's immune system, and present at birth grows to a larger size, and during puberty it will decreases the size, and at puberty it brings to shrink and eventually is replaced with connective or adipose tissue. So during this age, after the age of 15 to after 16, so the thymus gland will get shrink, but there will be no any thymus gland left. So this is the thymus gland, which is located at the mediastinum. It also has two lobes, right lobe and left lobe. And thyroid gland, which is located on the either side of the trachea, which resembles a butterfly in shape and divided into right and left lobes, and the center part we call it as isthmus. And the thyroid hormones are thyroxine, that is T4, and triiodothyronine, which is T3. Needs iodine to make the hormones. So these hormones will regulate the energy production and adjust the metabolic rate. So, and it also secretes the calcitonin, which regulates the level of calcium in bloodstream. If the calcium levels in the blood rises too high, calcitonin levels in the blood will increase and increases the deposition of calcium into the bone and lowers the level of calcium in bloodstream. Its action is opposite to the parathyroid hormone. Like insulin, glucagon, calcitonin, and parathormone. Both are opposite. So in this picture you can able to see this is the thyroid cartilage or Adam's apple, and this is the thyroid gland. This is the right lobe and left lobe, isthmus, and this is the trachea. So let's see the word building. Adrenal means pertaining to adrenal gland. Adrenomegaly means enlargement of the adrenal gland. Adrenopathy, adrenal gland disease. So pathy means disease. So any pathology involving, we call it as pathy. So adrenopathy is any adrenal gland disease. And adrenalectomy, removal of the adrenal gland. And adrenalitis, inflammation of the adrenal gland. Coming to the next, word building with calco or crine. So hyperemia, which is hypercalcemia. So actually hyper means excessive, calc means calcium, and emia means presence in the blood. So excessive calcium in the blood. Hypocalcemia, low calcium in the blood. Endocrinologist, specialist in endocrine system. Endocrinopathy, which means endocrine disease, endocrine system diseases. Next, hyperglycemia, excessive sugar in blood. Hypoglycemia, low sugar in blood. And hyperkalemia, excessive potassium in blood. And hyponatremia, which is low sodium in blood. And next, parathyroidal, pertaining to parathyroid gland. Parathyroidectomy, removal of parathyroid. Hyperparathyroidism, a state of excessive parathyroid. Hypoparathyroidism, a state of insufficient parathyroid. And next, pancreatic, which is pertaining to pancreas or anything related to pancreas. And pituitary, which means pertaining to the pituitary. Hypopituitarism, a state of low pituitary. Hyperpituitarism, a state of excessive pituitary. Thymic, which means pertaining to thymus. Thymectomy, removal of thymus. Thymitis, inflammation of thymus. Thymoma, which means thymus tumor. And next, thyromegaly, enlargement of the thyroid gland, we call it as thyromegaly. And next, thyroidal, pertaining to the thyroid. Thyroidectomy, removal of thyroid. Hyperthyroidism, a state of excessive thyroid. And hypothyroidism, a state of low thyroid. And coming to the endocrine system vocabulary, acidosis, excessive acidity of the body fluid, we call it as acidosis. And edema, excessive fluid in the body tissue. And endocrinology, diagnosis and the treatment of conditions related to the endocrine system or endocrine glands, we call it as endocrinology. Exophthalmos, protruding eyeball, we call it as exophthalmos, which is due to excessive action of the thyroid hormones. And gynecomastia. So gynecomastia means development of the breast tissue in males, we call it as gynecomastia. And hirsutism, excessive amount of hair is hirsutism. They will have an excessive amount of body hair. And this is the picture of exophthalmos, a condition with excessive secretion of thyroid gland or hyperthyroidism in the condition. And next, hypersecretion, which is nothing but excessive hormone production by endocrine gland. hypersecretion, which means insufficient hormone production by endocrine gland, and obesity, having abnormal amount of fat, and syndrome, a group of symptoms and signs that combine to present a clinical picture of disease or condition. So, what is a syndrome means? In one syndrome, you will have these signs and symptoms all together will be present in that syndrome only. So, that we call it as syndrome. And next, adrenal gland pathology is Addison's disease. Addison's disease is hyposecretion of adrenal cortex. Symptoms are generalized weakness and weight loss. Adrenal feminization, hypersecretion of estrogens by adrenal cortex in males, develops the female secondary sexual characters like gynecomastia. And adrenal viralism, which means hypersecretion of testosterone by adrenal cortex in females, leads to development of male secondary sexual characters in males. So these both are contrast. Adrenal feminization, that will be seen in the females, so that will be seen in the males, and adrenal viralism will be seen in females. And next, Cushing syndrome, hypersecretion of adrenal cortex. Symptoms include weakness, edema, excessive hair growth, and osteoporosis. And next, and pheochromocytoma, which means hypersecretion of epinephrine by adrenal medulla tumor, usually benign in nature, so easily curable, and symptoms may include anxiety, heart palpitations, means the heart sound will be heard by the person himself, and dyspnea and headache. Dyspnea means abnormal breathing. And pancreas pathology, that is diabetes mellitus, a chronic disorder of carbohydrate metabolism, results in hyperglycemia and glycosuria, means excessive blood glucose and sugar in the urine. So there are two distinctive types. One is insulin dependent type, other one is non-insulin dependent type. The person who are being diagnosed with insulin dependent, they have to inject the insulin tablets, insulin injection or through tablets daily. And non-insulin dependent, they don't have, they have to control the diet. In this case, they have to control the diet. They don't need to take any insulin. And let's see the difference between insulin dependent diabetes mellitus and non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Insulin dependent we call it as type 1, non-insulin dependent as type 2, and which develops early in the life, and non-insulin develops later in the lives, which due to the destruction of islets of the Langerhans, and here the person makes enough insulin but it has lost the ability to regulate the cells. Must take insulin injections. Do not take the insulin. Treated by diet, exercise and oral medications. Next, due to pancreas, they have certain conditions called diabetic retinopathy. Nothing but accumulation of damage to the retina. Complications is one of the complication of diabetes mellitus. And ketoacidosis. Acidosis is due to excessive of acidic ketone. Serious complication of diabetes mellitus. So the body fluids will become acidic with the production of ketones. And peripheral neuropathy, damage to the nerves in the lower legs and hands as a result of diabetes mellitus. Insulinoma, islets of Langerhans tumor will secrete excessive amount of insulin. And next, parathyroid gland pathology, tetanus, nerve irritability and painfulness, muscle cramps due to hypercalcemia may be caused by hypoparathyroidism. And next, Reckling-Gosson disease, which is hypersecretion of parathyroid hormone, causes the degeneration of the bones, because the parath hormone will increases the blood calcium level. Due to hypersecretion of the parath hormone, it causes the degeneration of the bones by stimulating the bones to release more amount of calcium from it. And next, acromegaly, chronic hypersecretion of growth hormone in adults causes the enlargement of bones of head and extremities. And next, diabetes insipidus, hyposecretion of antidiuretic hormone. Symptoms may include polyuria and polydipsia. Dwarfism, hyposecretion of growth hormone in children causes a short stature. So this is a condition of acromegaly. So you can see the difference between the normal hand and the hand with acromegaly. And one more pituitary gland pathology is gigantism. So hypersecretion of growth hormone results in tall adult. And panhypopituitarism. Pan means all the hormones are produced in a low levels in the pituitary. So hyposecretion of all pituitary hormones results in the problem with the gland controlled by pituitary gland. And next, cretinism. Congenital hyposecretion of the thyroid results in poor physical and mental development. So goiter, enlargement of the thyroid gland. And Graves' disease, hypersecretion of thyroid. Symptoms may include exophthalmos and goiter. And this is goiter, enlargement of the thyroid gland. It is due to tumor of the thyroid gland also. And Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune destruction of the thyroid, results to hypersecretion of disorder. And myxedema, hyposecretion disorder in adult, results include anemia, means decreased hemoglobin level, edema and mental lethargy. Thyrotoxicosis, marked hypersecretion symptoms include rapid heart rate, tremors, thyromegaly and weight loss. And next, it is adenocarcinoma, which is cancerous tumor in the gland that produces the hormone secreted that gland. నేను ఆపేసాను, నేను మళ్ళీ వస్తాను. నేను ఆపేసాను. So cancerous tumor in gland that produces the hormone secreted by the gland results in hyposecretion. So this is when there is a word called carcinoma, which is cancerous. Here you got some of the words like Addison's disease. Addison's disease is related to adrenal cortex.